Welcome to the Mystic Millionaire podcast, where wealth is energy, success is a mindset, and abundance is your birthright. I am Danielle Amos, your host and mentor, here to help you unlock prosperity, embody confidence, and manifest a life you love. Take a breath, align with your truth, and let's manifest millions. Personal branding coach, best-selling author, chart-topping podcast host Julie Solomon has been empowering lives for over 15 years through her in-demand classes and masterminds. With a background in public relations for some of the world's most influential music acts and thought leaders, Julie launched her online courses and coaching mastermind in 2016. Mentoring thousands of leaders and creatives around the world, her passion is helping women turn messages into movements and empowering entrepreneurs and creatives to successfully build, grow, and scale their business. Recently named one of the top 100 leaders in influencer marketing, Julie and her work has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Business Weekly, Business Insider, Success, and People, among others. She is the author of the best-selling book, Get What You Want, How to Go From Unseen to Unstoppable. Today in the studio, I have Julie Solomon as my guest, and she's a friend, she's a colleague. You are absolutely going to love this conversation. She has a unique ability to see her clients, and she shares how to be seen, how to become magnetic, and use your own voice to attract and create a movement. So welcome to the Mystic Millionaire podcast.
Such a good name.
Thank you.
So on brand.
I am honored to have you in front of me. You are an inspiration online to watch and to witness and to see how you've impacted so many women. I see a lot of women in your world, and how you share your own story and the evolution since I first started following you, and the evolution of your brand and your business. Congratulations first, and thank you. Thank you for your time, your wisdom that you're about to share with our listeners.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's truly a gift. I mean, it's an honor. I was saying that earlier. It's a gift to be here. What an opportunity. So thank you.
So let's jump in. So who is Julie? Talk to me about how you created this brand that you have and how you help women find their voice. Like, what led you to this?
So, Julie's a lot of things. In this realm of this path,
Good answer.
Yes. I have always been a connector and a communicator at heart, like even when I was little. And I always had this ability to kind of see the inner stardom in people. And it was really exciting to me of like, how can I take that and like bring it out? And I think that at the time I didn't have the awareness, but that was really because I myself was trying to unlock my own inner stardom. And so I came by it very honestly. I went to college. I majored in journalism and PR with a minor in communications.
Okay.
I went straight to New York City and worked as a publicist in the music realm. So I worked with some of the top music acts at the time. This was way back in the aughts, 2006, 2007. And really got my feet wet early. I mean, I was a baby. I was 22 years old.
Wow.
And, going to the Grammys, going to New York Fashion Week, and doing all of these incredible projects with these insane clients. I was the assistant to a publicist who represented Lenny Kravitz, Pink, Maroon 5.
How
just
cool.
These,
That.
yeah, just these big, massive names. And so I would find myself in New York and, traveling, doing a really cool thing. So a lot of press for those people and supporting her, a lot of tour press for those people.
Can I interrupt for a moment?
Yeah.
So one of the conversations that I've been having recently with clients and colleagues is putting other people on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, how cool, Lenny Kravitz, very cool. And I notice where I automatically do that. And yet there's something that I believe when you're in close proximity with people who have achieved success in an area of their life and maybe you respect, it's natural to put them on a pedestal. However, I believe that being what you recognize in another person or you respect another person is because it's for you and that you're a match for that.
Yeah.
I'd love to know your perception. I know I'm taking us already on a tangent, but your perception of putting others on a pedestal. And did you do that early in your career? And how did you overcome that? Because I also know you're married to an actor. So you have an opportunity to be meeting and mixing and mingling with people who have that outward success in different areas of their life.
Yeah. I think that early in my career, I actually didn't, which is why I think I had such good success early on, that I wasn't very starstruck. I remember there was one time that I saw the people that I get starstruck on are very odd and bizarre. So I remember seeing Nikki Sixx from the hair metal band Motley Crue at a party during Fashion Week. And I was like, God, there's Nikki Sixx. But then, I could have seen Brad Pitt or George Clooney, and I wouldn't have thought two things about it, you know? So I didn't put them on a pedestal as much as, again, these were such powerful, artistic, creative beings that, as you said, had done so much, and I wanted to be a part of their star rising. And at the same time, I think that was also due to my own immense insecurity at the time of not wanting to see my own star rise. And it's funny that I chose the career as a publicist, because if you notice, you've been to red carpet events, publicists are literally in all black, standing in the shadows, no makeup, walkie-talkies going on, and flipboard, and not miserable, they're just invisible. They're there to do a job. And that made me feel powerful in some ways and seen as important, but not truly seen.
Yeah.
And so as that transpired, and, kind of long story short, because I want to get back to your question, which was so great, that then evolved into, I left the agency life, went to corporate PR, then found myself in the online space in 2013, quickly realized that I could use at that point my immense background in PR to support and coach women online, to help them become more visible, to help them shine, to help them see themselves. And more specifically, how I do that today is through messaging and positioning and branding, which we'll talk about. But, to go back to your question of that, like I said, I come by it honestly with the work that I've done. And like you said, I even married a star. I've always just found these stars and to crack them open. But it wasn't until I had, and I had kind of many rock bottom moments, as we all do throughout our life journey. I had been married before my husband now, and young and divorced, and then met my now husband, moved to Los Angeles because he's an actor, and that's where we lived at the time. And I started to kind of get this inkling of what would it mean for me to be seen and for me to kind of shine? But because I was still so painfully insecure to be seen, to shine, kind of the negative connotation of who do you think you are to be seen? Who do you think you are to do that? That I don't know if it was so much as put people on a pedestal as, for me, as if it was, I would put their needs first. I would make them more important. I would make their dreams more important. I would make their creativity more important. I remember thinking that even the work that I do now, which is so creative and it's such an art form, back then I was like, well, I'm not an artist. Artists are only, you have to be an actor or a singer or a painter or a photographer to be an artist. I so do not believe that now. I think we're all artists in our own right. But I think it was a journey of me really kind of tapping into, what am I not revealing about myself that's trying to come out? And so even though I kept working with these quote unquote stars and kept trying to help them shine brighter, it was actually a really dark time for me because I was hiding so much. I was hiding debt that I was accumulating from my husband, over $30,000. I was hiding my real dreams and gifts of wanting to be seen, wanting to speak, wanting to write, wanting to coach, wanting to be on stages and share my story. But I didn't have the confidence to do it yet. And so I think if I did put anything on a pedestal, it would be this idea to constantly put other people and their dreams before my own.
You said that the voice in your head, if we can call it that. Who do you think you are to want that? I think a lot of our listeners can relate to that. You know that they're made for more. They know that they have a voice and impact to make, and yet they're not sure like what gives them the right to declare that. And it's easy to see it in other people, and we'll get to this as well. It's easy to maybe see why Lenny Kravitz is so great, or why he has the talent and ability and the right, if you will, to rise or take the stage. And then we downplay our own gifts and listen instead to that voice. So do you remember the moment when you said, like, fuck it to that voice?
Yeah.
And it is my place. It is my time.
Yeah. So there were actually different moments, okay, but very pivotal ones. So I remember when I was in New York and doing PR and seeing how not rich in money, but just rich in life experience, that these people who were just unapologetically who they were, and they were getting paid for it, and they were getting, noticed for it, and dare I say, adored for it, which isn't always the right reasons to go after that. But at the time, that's what I was attracted to. I was like, man, like, if only, I could have my version of that, whatever that is. I'm not going to become a Lady Gaga, but I could become whatever that is as Julie Solomon. But then,
I was just talking about this, actually. It's
Yeah.
like not copying Lady Gaga, but noticing the characteristic that inspires you about her, that you're attracted to, and then asking, okay, what does that look like for myself
right.
to embody that quality? And the reason that you're seeing it and admiring it in someone like Lady Gaga is because it is within you to
If you
be
spot it, you
developed.
got it.
You got it, yeah.
And I think that's where act as if comes, just one of my favorite tools. It's
Same.
not fake it till you make it, but it's act as if that is already happening, that has already happened, that's already an experience in your life.
Why don't you think fake it till you make it? I say the same thing. So I love.
Well, because to me, I feel like act as if is a more self-aware version of fake it till you make it. I love fake it till you make it. I grew up with a single mom. She would always say it. She had no college degree and she had to hustle to figure it out. So she would always be like, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get this sales job. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. I don't have a degree. I have no background, but fake it till you make it.
I love it.
And so a lot of my 20s was faking it till I made it. And it did get me to a certain place. But
I think there's an element where your subconscious mind knows that you're faking it.
Yes.
So there's like this underlying energy that perhaps not everyone picks up on.
Right.
But there's a vibration about you, a frequency where they're like, ooh, some things like she doesn't totally buy it.
Right.
Whereas in acting
is different. Like for me, the fake it till you make it was a more immature version of Julie. The act as if is a more self-evolved, immature version.
And I feel like the act as if is a decision. Like I'm deciding to, like your husband, my ex, like deciding to become a character who is our next level self that we remember or we are embodying. And that is a decision to act that way, coming from your goal achieved self or your future self.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about the evolution. And the more that from my experience, having those rock bottom moments. So, when you ask, like, when did you say enough was enough? When I got married at 26, divorced at 27, because I remember looking around, and it's no offense to that person, was an incredible person. He's amazing. But that wasn't meant to be my life. And I remember looking around saying, this cannot be it. Like, this cannot be the rest of my life.
Courage it took to leave a marriage after a year.
But it's because I knew it. And so there was a little bit of that faking that everything was fine that kind of got me that far, because people would be like, how are you only married for a year? And I'm like, it's because I kept saying, it's fine, I'll figure it out. It's fine, I'll figure it out. Because I was abandoning the truth. Yeah. So that was one instance. Seeing people in New York City do these big things. I come from a very small town. No one leaves where I'm from. Okay. So that was so expansive for me in so many different ways. Another instance, when I left agency PR and went into corporate PR on the book publicity side, I remember sitting and a lot of corporate women can relate to this, sitting in my windowless cubicle, looking around, being like, this cannot be the rest of my life. Yeah. Seeing how miserable so many people were there, because they had been in this job for 30 years that they hated. And so
they don't feel like they have a choice.
they don't feel like they have a choice. And so I think that one of my gifts of the reason why I've been able to quote unquote be so successful is because I did always know that I had a choice. Even when it felt like, how am I going to make this choice? I always had a choice. And I always knew that everything was working out for me, even when it wasn't. It was always working out for me.
Powerful.
And I've had this steadfast belief, and not just me, but just this higher power, this greater existence in me, because I know, as you've said, I wouldn't have had all of those God winks, those moments, those sacral hits that I get. You know, I'm a Mangen. I'm 1-3 sacral authority.
I'm a 1-3. We knew that. I'm a generator. Yeah.
So then we also, with that 1-3, it's the trial and error, right?
Yes.
But when I allow myself to be tapped in and tuned into my sacral, it does not steer me wrong. And that's why I can course correct and make decisions quickly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had to go through so many different layers of peeling the onion back of those rock bottom moments. But a big catalyst for me was in 2015 when I was hiding $30,000 of credit card debt from my husband, and he found out. And that was I am so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm so sick and tired of my own bullcrap.
Yeah.
I cannot continue to do this. That really allowed me to start facing some hard truths about my fears, my insecurities, my self-doubt, my lack of worth, my fear of being found out, of being mad, of not being perfect, my people-pleasing. Just all of that was connected around my relationship with money. And that was really the catalyst that set me on my spiritual journey and my self-discovery journey, and really also the business that I have today.
So what did you do when he found out that you had that debt?
Well, first I said, holy shit.
And what, like, in your mind, you were keeping it a secret and thought one day you'd fix it.
Yeah.
Okay.
With you. And just thinking
What's a gambler's lie?
So it's like, I just need the next big cash windfall and I'll pay the whole thing off and he'll never find out, which is so delusional and so irrational. But in that moment of that just addictive pattern of thinking that I could do it all myself, and I could figure it all out and everything would be fine, and sticking my head in the sand, that I had that, as they would say, that come to Jesus moment of like, you can't hide from this. And it was such a gift to finally be found out. The one thing I was afraid of finally happened. And guess what? I didn't die.
Yeah. And the shame, I imagine that you had hiding it.
So much shame.
And then the debt, like in our society, people believe that's a bad thing.
You're right. And it was just part of my journey. And you know, my husband didn't shame me for it, but he was very upset. He was very confused. He was very sad. He was scared. He was like, who have I married? Like, is she going to spend all of my money that I've worked so hard for? And like, I had a son too. I had a 2-year-old at the time. And so I had to that's when I really realized that like, this isn't about me. I have a lot of people that I love that depend on me, that count on me. And there is a lot of ancestral and generational stuff here. And I'm now being gifted the opportunity to break a cycle that lineages of women before me didn't either have the choice or the opportunity or the willpower or the courage or the awareness to break. And so that's really what happened, is that I started to work on myself in ways that allowed for so much awareness and self-acceptance and really self-love and going easy on myself. That was the first time in my life that I realized, like, I'm so hard on myself. And I still am.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't cured myself from that.
I can relate. I'm sure a lot of the listeners can relate.
Yeah.
And the judgment and then being in that hole and on your own.
Yeah.
So it can be a dark place. So if someone's listening and they are in that place, maybe it's not about debt, but maybe there's something else that they're hiding.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Yeah. First off, you're not bad or wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you're hiding it because it is the way that you have learned to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So like, let yourself off the hook with that. And now is the time that you can start, because now you're aware. It's like, you know that you're hiding this and it's not supporting your highest self, your highest vision, your highest dreams. So now you have to start doing something about it. So what does that look like? For you, it could be seeking professional help. It could be starting to read books. It could be starting to work on somatic healing, generational trauma healing, EMDR, like whatever the modalities are for you, start doing those things. And the biggest feedback that I could give to anyone is that you have to be so discerning and so mindful with who you share your shame story with. So, for lack of a better phrase, don't go to the hardware store to buy milk. And so there was a lot in that moment that even though I wanted to share it all with my husband, we didn't have the tools yet because we were still recovering from that. For me to share so much with him, I had to really work on myself first, gain the wisdom, and then be able to share from that place of wisdom.
I think there's a few things that are really important to understand, at least from my own journey, that the way that you were operating, you didn't intentionally put yourself in $30,000 in debt. So you didn't intentionally do something that would be hard to get out of.
Right.
And I believe that we always do our best, and that best is good enough. And that you finding yourself in that situation was actually part of the path that was necessary for you to be able to help the women that you help today and to understand money in a certain way. And because the way that you were programmed, you pretty much had no choice, I would imagine, than to find yourself in that debt.
Right.
Because of generations and family and all the things. I mean, we can go into that, and it's not, we all have our own story. So, but to recognize that until you're aware of what's happening inside your subconscious mind or what got you into that place, there's nothing, like, you're doing your best. There's nothing that you can do. So not to let yourself off the hook, but to stop judging the place and instead then take responsibility and say, okay, how do I heal this, to your point? What modality am I going to use? And what am I doing about this moving forward so that this is not the story?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my future.
Yep. And that's really where the acceptance and then the action comes in.
Yeah.
And I think that was the hardest thing for me for a long time. I think that when I'm really honest with myself, there was self-awareness about, even though it wasn't intentional, I was aware that I was putting things on a credit card and not telling my husband. But it was this lack of self-acceptance. And like you said, that the judgment and the shame that came with that caused me to kind of freeze or hide or avoid, a lot of avoidant energy, to then not be able to take the necessary actions that I needed to heal, recover, and then really let the phoenix rise.
I think keeping yourself accountable, because most likely you're putting things on the credit card. And while I'm sharing my own story now, I put things on a credit card and then not keeping myself accountable to making that work. So using money as a Band-Aid solution, to pay for something and then not actually implementing what I learned. And so taking responsibility for the investments and then
1,000,000%.
actually making sure there's a return on that investment, because I still I will I'll go big risk, put it on the credit card. So I think that's not a problem.
Same.
The problem is when we don't take responsibility for the investment and make sure that there's a huge return.
Yep.
And that goes back to self-image and self-confidence, to your point.
Totally. And that's I don't think credit's bad. Credit's great. You need credit.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to the whole Dave Ramsey, buy everything with cash. If you're the 1% of Americans who can do that, great. I just don't think that's realistic. But that doesn't mean that we tap out of the accountability.
Yeah.
And so I had to get really clear on, for me, I was buying things to fill a void. So I would, buy lip glosses and, lunches with friends, whatever it was. And then I would justify it by being well, it's not like I'm going down to Rodeo and getting a Chanel bag. I mean, I could, but, I'm just buying this frivolous lip gloss. But then it added up. But I think that it was that me learning how to be accountable for that exchange of energy is what actually allowed me to pay off that entire $30,000 in debt within a year.
Amazing.
When I finally got my ish together and really started to show up and shine authentically as myself and do the work.
And now that's what you help women to do.
And now that's what I help women to do.
So how did you know, Julie, that you shared with us your history in PR and obviously helping other people find their voice? So you took that wisdom from your previous career and you brought it forward, which is incredible. How would you help, or how do you know personally what your own gifts are? What would you say to our listeners that say that, like, I've got something more to give, and like, how do I know what my gift is?
Yeah. So for me, it really kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of our conversation of if a woman comes into my world, if she spots it in me, she's got it.
Yeah.
So there's already a
Mhm.
connection that we have of like, we're the same kind of different.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Love
the
that.
same, unique, but same.
Yeah.
And the sense that like she has something that is so important that she needs to share with the world. And when I started to really learn about myself and, I love to do all the things. So it's, the astrology readings, the Akashic records, the human design, everything that I started to fall into, all of it, the keys, it was showing me that it is literally in my design. It is in my chart.
The 1-3.
Yes,
Yeah.
to the work that I do.
Yeah.
And to specifically as it comes to, I am able to take what somebody else may find to be very complex and very abstract and very hard to consume, and I am able to break it down in really digestible bites for someone to be able to then understand and apply. And so that's really kind of where the teaching and the curriculum come in. And then what else is in my chart is that not only am I supposed to use my gifts of speaking and communicating, but I'm also supposed to help women with that. And so that's where the messaging comes in.
Love.
And so that's really essentially what I do now. I work primarily with other online coaches, service providers, online educators that have curriculum, courses, masterminds, all of that. And they kind of come to me for two reasons. One, they're not new, they're geniuses. They're brilliant. They're really good at what they do. They're an expert in their own right. It's just they have this one tiny problem that not enough people know that, and they need help cracking that open. And it's the messaging piece, and then it's also the positioning piece. So the messaging piece, when we start to peel that back, that's really the strategy. That's kind of more of like, how are we taking your brilliance, which is feminine, and then effectively articulating that out, which is kind of more of the masculine, to use that as a tool to do your work, do what you're meant to do in this earth. And then we have the positioning piece of how are you being perceived? Because really that is what a brand is. A brand equals reputation.
Yeah.
It's not a logo. It's not a mission statement. It's not what a lot of people think it is. It's a reputation. It's what people perceive at whatever it is that you're throwing out at them. And as long as whatever it is you're throwing out is corralled mostly to where you want it to go, you're good to go. But most of the time, it's not. And so that's where the positioning comes in. And a lot of times people think, oh, so that just means that if it's positioning, then I need to talk about my offer differently, or I need to show up more. And it's like, no, this is kind of where on the outside, yes, but on the inside, there's something inside you that is holding you back from audaciously owning who the F you are.
Yeah.
And like, just if any of my Real Housewives fans are out there, like Lisa Rinna would say, just own it. Like there's something about you that is keeping you stuck, small, glass ceiling. We have got to bust that open so that you can position yourself as not the best, but the only.
Amazing. So I was wondering if you brought any self-image or identity work. That's so speaking my language, and a lot of the listeners will be used to us going down that path of talking about identity and the way that the person perceives themselves. And then that is what ultimately
It should.
gets reflected, and it goes beyond their words or their messaging. It's like really their own feelings about themselves.
It's the embodiment.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, the positioning comes in. Because if there is something in you, and I know you know this, that doesn't fully believe in what it is that you're saying or that you're sharing, or doesn't even fully own the power of what that is, no amount of strategy
Doesn't work.
can force that through. And I'll give you an example. This was a couple of years ago, so I'd already done a lot of this work, but I was sitting at a networking dinner, as we do, beautiful women around the table from the online space. And, they were kind of asking questions at the dinner, what's your thoughts about this, or what's your feedback about this? And everyone would go around and share. And there was a question that was asked just kind of about like content creation and Instagram and that sort of thing. And there were some women that were sharing how, they're tired of it and it's exhausting. And it's like, we spend so much time trying to become visible, and then for what? And then I just kind of said, to be honest, I don't even remember what it was. I remember saying something very passively about consumption and how that relates to messaging and perception. And then I went on with my life. Well, like 2 weeks later, one of the women, she came, she goes, I just want you to know that the thing that you shared at that dinner so resonated with me so deeply that I actually went back to my team, completely revamped our social media strategy, and it helped us reach like an $800,000 launch goal.
Wow.
For a launch that we were in the process of. And I was so excited for her. Like, that's beautiful. That's amazing. And at the same time, I got this ping, and it wasn't like a sting of like, oh, it had nothing to do with her. The sting was, Julie, this is what you help women with. This is your proprietary work. Like, this is what about you not fully owning how powerful your, like, just even in a casual conversation, you said something that you don't even remember what you said.
Yeah.
And it was so powerful that it helped her go from booking 20 calls to 120 calls so she could actually meet her, 800,000 or whatever it was, multi-$100,000 launch goal.
Yeah, amazing.
And so it was such a gift and an opportunity because it made me pause, and it made me really start to reflect consciously about how I communicate, because that is my gift. And not everything needs to be behind a paywall. Like, we're all going to share, and people are going to take gleams. And that's the beautiful part of just energetic reciprocity.
Yeah.
But it was such a gift from the universe because it made me realize you're still playing small. There's still a part of you that, whether you even realize it or not, probably sitting at that table, that probably overshared and overgave because you needed to be seen as what? Important, valid, love, accepted, whatever that was. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that I was coming from that lens. But when I really sat with it and really did some work around it and journaling and meditating around it, it was like, yeah, like, it's not to say that I wouldn't have still shared whatever it was that I shared, but I could have framed it in a way that instead of her going off and do it, like, she could have come to me and been like, can you help me with this?
Yeah. Tell me more.
Right. Tell me more. Can you help me with this? Because she is an ideal client of mine. And so what about me and my own gifts do I not feel empowered enough to own that?
Yeah.
And so that was a really big, rude awakening for me in terms of going back to that perception piece of like what we're putting out there, and really, again, just owning our brilliance and what our gifts are, that it's not just meant to always be a free for all, if that makes sense.
What do you think about what comes most naturally to us, and how that is a big part of our gifts that we're meant to share, the impact that we're here to make, and our purpose? Because I see that, like, you said something that was just so natural, and that she took it like good kudos.
Right.
Her,
It's amazing. Right.
And applied it to her own business and got the results. So I often see, and I can see this in myself, where I'm speaking and it's like, wait a minute, what did you just say? Like,
Right.
what's that wisdom? Come on, I need to get my notebook, And I would imagine that you see that often in the women that you work with.
Yeah. And I think it's because I've seen it so much in my own journey. And so I think you nailed it when you said, like, the things that come so natural to us, if we don't really start tapping in and tuning into the power of that, just because it comes naturally to us doesn't mean that, it's not this powerful entity that we need to nurture and care for and honor and love. And so for me, it was really about not being so quick to, I think, be off the cuff. And again, not that it has to be so strategic, but it was about an empowerment piece for me. And that's really what I love to share with a lot of my clients now, that they're like, I'm just being me. And it's like, yes, and I want you to be you. And it's not just about what you're giving. but it's also about what are you receiving from this energy, from this exchange, from this experience.
And do you help women see that so that when you listen to them talk or you look at their materials, you're actually like, okay, this is gold.
You think it's this, but it's actually this.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of that positioning piece of like, you know, what, because you're going to have an idea and you're going to have goals, but like, what would someone actually pay you for?
Right.
Consistently.
Yeah. I'm like, come on, like, bring it.
What would someone actually pay you for? Because it can be, and sometimes that feels really simple, but even when I'll ask my clients that, because there's this beautiful kind of marriage between what you're naturally good at, what people naturally come to you for, and out of that, what do they find so valuable based on their own challenges, desires, pain points, desired transformation that they would actually pay you for. And if you can get clear on that, everything changes.
Yeah.
Most of the time women come to me and they're like, oh, well, it's this. And I'm like, but it's not that. Like there's still something that you're either hiding or that you're kind of playing small around or that you're softening a little bit to like fit in. Or maybe there's something that's kind of wanting to come out, but it can't because you're locked into some old paradigm, old belief system, old way of doing business. That happened to a client, Elizabeth, my client, that came and she kept doing these ebooks. And I'm like, why are we doing these ebooks about natural remedies when like you have people lining up that would happily pay you high ticket for what it is that you can offer? And she's like, well, I've only ever charged $200 or I've only ever done this and so it's a complete rewiring of your own self-worth. It's a complete rewiring of owning your genius and also being abashedly unapologetic about the reciprocity in that exchange. And not only being unapologetic about it, but that is your job. Like it is your job to honor and respect yourself so much so that you say, yes, I've got a lot of gifts to give.
Yeah.
And there's some that I can give away for free. But then there's some that it's like, if you want this, we've got to work together here.
Yeah.
And I would value and respect you enough to have that exchange. And so I'm going to value and respect myself enough to also have that exchange. And so that's really where the positioning piece comes in. And so that's something that I can leave everybody that's listening. It's, what do you want to be known for?
Yep.
Is another great question to ask yourself. What do people mostly come to pay you for that also feels expansive, that doesn't feel like such a slug, that doesn't feel like you're having to pull teeth, like you're a dentist to make a sale?
Good.
Like, what do people come to you for that they find so valuable that you could actually put a price tag behind that would then feel very freeing and expansive and, like, dare I say, simple? And so that's where I have to also teach my clients to start loving what I call boring money.
Okay. What's boring money?
Boring money is that simple, sustainable, consistent, easy money that comes to you. What tends to happen is that if it's simple, consistent, and easy, we're not getting that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
There's no drama in that. There's no flair in that. There's no color in that. So we have to go break stuff.
Yeah.
We have to go
burn the house down.
Right. We got to go burn the house down. It's like, no, let's not burn the house down.
Yeah.
Like, you've got bills. You've got people that depend on you. But can you learn to embrace and love boring money enough? Can you do it bored enough to where that's going to give you the sustainable baseline that you need to then actually go play
and it
be
feels
creative.
Like put like the systems and the foundations in place so it's there for you.
Yeah.
And then, to your point, you can go play.
Yeah.
The image I got when you were sharing about what you do and how you help women is holding a mirror. Like, I feel like you reflect back to them their zone of genius. You can see it from a different lens because often it's hard. Well, I find it's hard to see myself. And so when I have people reflect that back, I'm like, okay, got it. And I can really see that about you. So I acknowledge that and what a gift you are for the women that you work with. Am I right about that?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I love to see the blind spots that they can't see. I also have, they call it like the genius line in human design, which can be a little, it's like, oh, genius, but it's great because it's kind of like the genius freak line that you can see the things that other people can't see, but you have to make sure that they're ready to see it and hear it. Because if you give it to them and they're not ready for it, it can actually be very triggering and it can create the opposite effect.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Okay. So let's talk about your program. I want to know what you do inside.
Yeah. So not always, but typically when people come into my world, they come into my world through my signature program called the Brand Accelerator. And it helps you essentially do just that, accelerate your brand. But what it really focuses on are a lot of those messaging frameworks that are, a lot of it comes just from my extensive background in PR and marketing, but how that relates to the online business of today. Not only do I have that background, but I've been in this online space since 2013. So I've seen so many ebbs and flows and changes of it. And it's really about tapping in and tuning into what is that signature framework that you have? How do you take something that may feel so mundane and so common, like for me, example, marketing? How do you make that unique to you and to your experience and to how you envision this? So I'll work with, again, a slew of coaches or service providers or online educators that come, from the health space, from the wellness space, from the business space, from the marketing space. And they need help with effectively articulating that. They need help to really hone in on is my genius what I think it is? If not, we need to refine. It's really a refinement program. Let's make sure that we are calling in who we were meant to serve and only that person.
Yeah.
Let's really dial that in. Let's make sure that we're using some messaging components to where it feels more like a journey for our client and not just a laundry list of things. And then we go into now, how does that play into the positioning, into the authority piece of you owning that genius and that brilliance? And so that's the Brand Accelerator.
How do you get women past that feeling like a fraud? Like you're saying that they are the one to own this, and yet they don't feel it and they have that fear come up.
Yeah. So if you don't feel it, no one else will.
Yeah.
And so that's just the first awareness piece, that you can't be out there trying to sell something that, even if you believe that it works, if you don't believe that you're the one to make that happen, no one else is
incongruent, right? You might be saying the right thing,
right,
but it's not embodied.
It's energetically, it's an incongruent mismatch every single time. And I also see that a lot with pricing, because it's like you're selling me a Mercedes, but you're giving it to me for the price of a Honda.
Yeah.
Which also, I think that sophisticated buyers, they smell that from a mile away, and it actually diminishes and devalues your worth. But to the crux of it, we have to get into some confidence building techniques that I work with my clients on, especially my higher level clients. We work a lot on, what are your beliefs about being seen? What are your beliefs about an authority? What does that mean to you? A lot of acting as if principles. So we can start to first embody it here and own it here. And it's kind of like a barometer, right? So we have to, I don't want to say start small, but they're stepping stones. And I think a lot of times where people kind of tap out in their own belief system of being the one, being the only, is that they're trying to go from step 1 to step 20.
Okay.
And it's like, well, let's just get to step 2. So an easy example is, let's say that you're coming to me and you're making $20,000 a month and you want to make $100,000 a month, and you have not been able. It's most of the time it's because there is a system within you that believes that you are a 20K earner and that's it.
Yeah.
And you can't, even though you say that you want the 100K months, you can't even fathom what that would actually feel like, smell like, taste like, look like, hear like.
And we can see that because that's your current result.
That's your current result. Yeah. And so there has to be a conscious shift in your belief system, and there has to be stepping stones. So I know you want to get to 100K, and we can do it. And you could collapse time really fast and do it fast. And also, why don't we just try, what feels good right now? What feels actually expansive, but also realistically manageable for you? Is it 30K? So can we just start there? And so it's less about I still want you to dream big.
Yeah.
And I used to do this with my, with so many of my PR clients, that would want to get brand partnerships. They would come to me and they're like, I want to sit front row at Chanel. And I'm like, okay, great. Do you wear Chanel? No.
Yeah.
Do you follow Chanel on Instagram? No. How many followers do you have? 1, my mom. It's like, okay, I know you want to get to Chanel, but like, let's actually first build the vehicle that's going to drive you to the Chanel Fashion Week experience.
Yeah.
And the same thing it is with the money. So does that kind of answer your question?
Totally. And you're like completely speaking my language around beliefs and embodiment and having someone, they've got to become that match for the 20, the 30, the 100K.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know from my own personal experience, if you don't do it, if you're anything, if you are ambitious like I am, you will be able to hustle your way to 6 figures.
Yeah.
You cannot hustle your way to 7. You cannot. You will burn out. Even if you get lucky and you have a 100K month, if you're not ready to hold that and to really own that and to receive that next month, it's going back down to 30.
Totally.
It's going back down to 20. It's going back down to where it was eventually.
Well, you can see that the person actually hasn't embodied that change or that belief. That's who they are in their self-image and identity. And that's where the flip-flop comes, right? Because you have to go back to what you truly believe because you can't fake it.
Right. You can't fake that.
You can fake so many months,
right?
You know, and yeah, all self-image.
It is. And that's, a big question I'll ask my clients, especially when they first come to me, because we'll talk about what's the goal. That's always a big question I ask too, is what's the goal? And they'll share that. And I'll say, they've got big goals, but I can just tell that they want it, but they don't believe that it's actually possible. And so I'm like, okay, for you to get to this goal, let's say that you would need 100 new clients tomorrow. So if I dropped 100 new clients into your world today, would you be ready, mind, body, and spirit? And I'm not just talking about your team and your systems, but like, would you be ready, mind, body, and spirit, to actually support and serve them to the level of excellence that you want to bring to the table?
Yeah.
Every single time they're like, no. And I'm like, that's what we have to work on first.
And what is that difference?
Right.
Like, where are you right now getting these current results? And what does it look like to hold those 100 clients? Like, who are you being?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the growth. And that's why you're desiring it.
Yep.
Yeah. Love that. Okay. So I've got a few questions for you.
Okay. Let's do
rapid questions.
Yes.
Before we do that, do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the audience based on what you shared about your programs, how you help women? I know that many of our listeners will relate to your story and where you've come from and your expertise. I feel like they'll probably need to pick your brain on Insta and that kind of thing. So go follow Julie. What's your words of wisdom before we go into our rapid fire questions?
I would say, I'll do this through the lens of what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Because so many people, they think that just content creation is the thing. They just have to either create more content or create it in a different way or whatever. And so I believe that content creation without that magnetism of the positioning and the messaging, it's just noise. And like, we don't need more noise. We don't need more content. We're good on the content. So if that's true, it's, what would it take, or who would you need to become to actually empower yourself and embody that magnetic wisdom that is inside you? Because that is the key that's going to unlock the messaging and the positioning and everything else that you're searching for. But like, who would you need to become, or what would you need to become? And if you don't know the answer to, that's okay. But look to someone, and what I'm about to say is really important. Look to someone who has successfully done what it is that you're trying to do.
Bingo.
And go work with that person.
Yeah.
Go learn from them. Read their books, listen to their podcasts, get in their coaching containers, absorb every piece of information that you can from them successfully.
Yeah. Success
And
leaves clues.
it does.
Be coachable.
And that is the biggest key. And, I know it sounds cliche, but I'm going to say it, but start before you're ready. I mean, that was the thing that really propelled. I went from 60K to 250K to 1.3 million, 250 to 1.3 million in 9 months.
Love.
Because I was terrified, but started before I was ready and worked with a coach that really helped me see myself in new ways to get me there.
Yeah, that's huge. And I love that you're so good at that, at seeing women and reflecting that back.
And as are you.
Okay, before I give you the question, something else came up. So you said magnetism.
Yeah.
What do you believe makes a woman magnetic? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah. I think that it's something that does not need to be chased or found. It's definitely within us. I think that it needs to be, it comes from the stars. I mean, magnetism is its influence really and being influential. And so it's about allowing yourself to honor that inner stardom that I've been talking about all day and allowing that to truly lead you, to not be afraid of it, to not feel that it's going to be taken from you. That is truly the catalyst to getting everything that you want, is just truly allowing yourself to cultivate and let that magnetism within you like finally breathe the air that it needs to breathe to grow.
I feel like it's really being authentically you.
Yeah.
And then you magnetize to you the opportunities and people that are in harmony with that, and to trust that.
Yep.
Rather than showing up in a way that you think you, yeah.
Yeah. And that's, another great question to leave to leave those with today is like, without fear of anything, failure, judgment, whatever, what would you be talking about right now online? What would you be sharing? What kind of content would you be creating? What would it look like?
Yeah. What lights you up?
What
Like
lights you
what?
up, And I've even had to do that, that I'll have F that moments, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I really want to talk about this beauty product, but it's not part of and I'm like, F that.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the beauty product.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about my day. It doesn't have to be so systematic. Like
Yeah.
allow yourself to have fun and to create from that place. People see that's what they magnetize to.
Yeah. I love it. Authenticity. Cool. Okay. You ready for your...
I am.
Okay. Question number 1.
Okay.
Abundance in one word.
Abundance in one word. Peace.
Okay. Millionaire mindset indulgence. What is one guilty pleasure that you allow yourself to invest in?
I have so many.
Body your millionaire self.
So you and I have this in common because we love luxury.
Yes.
And I make no bones about it.
Same.
So there's so many. I drive a Range Rover. I love really expensive perfumes. I love my Gucci loafers. But
I noticed those, by the way.
thank you. But to me, what really matters is high-end travel experiences. That was that freedom. When I was first starting out and I was trying to figure out, like, what does freedom look like to me?
Yeah.
It was, I want to be able to travel first class anywhere, anytime with my family and not nickel and dime it.
Love it.
And I have been able to do that since 2016.
What's the best place you've been?
I mean, Paris is
Okay.
I come alive in Paris. I mean, I've been to some incredible places. I've been very fortunate to travel the world, but
Where to stay in Paris?
I love the Ritz.
Okay.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
I also love, it depends, like if you want to go shopping, staying somewhere in the 8th is great, but the Ritz it's just iconic. It's so Parisian. It's so incredible. It's so iconic. So that would probably be top of my list.
Okay, adding it to my list.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Paris for a long time.
Oh, so good.
Okay. Okay, third, and this is actually really fitting because you are a one-line. So for those of you that aren't familiar with human design one-lines, love knowledge. We're knowledge seekers. One book. If you could only read one book for the rest of your life, go.
Asking me which child I love the most.
Right.
God. One book. Probably A Course in Miracles.
Boom.
Yeah.
You picked a thick one too. So that's like
did.
10 books.
Big
in
old
one.
knowledge book.
Many different
But yeah, there's
sections.
so much, there's so much, mysticism, Kabbalah, Christianity. There's so much good stuff in there.
And I also love that there's like, it's also mini. Like you can read a sentence and meditate on it, or like the day and meditate on it and come back to it and repeat it and see something different because you're different within it, right? Yeah. So that's a good choice. Props to that.
Yes. Hard.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your beauty, your authenticity with our audience. Thank you for your time and your friendship over the years. And I look forward to what's to come for you, for your clients and both of us.
For us. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to all the incredible listeners and viewers out there that what a gift that they have you to just light so much in their path and to be that mirror for them too. So the fact that I get to play a small part in their day is incredible. So thank you for letting me do my job and letting me serve. It's beautiful.
Love it.